First contact and conflict. The Zarkin scout ship shuddered as it entered Earth's atmosphere, its cloaking device failing under the intense heat of re-entry. Aboard the vessel, Lieutenant Krizax fought desperately with the controls, his 4 arms working in frantic synchronization across the flickering console. Pilot's log final entry. Krizax rasped into the ship's recorder. Mission compromised. Atmospheric entry detected by primitive Earth defenses. Propulsion systems critical. Prepare for. His words were cut short as the ship slammed into a densely forested mountainside, tearing through ancient trees before coming to rest in a smoking crater. Silence fell over the forest, broken only by the crackle of flames and the hiss of ruptured coolant lines. Miles away, in the bustling command center of NORAD, alarms blared as technicians scrambled to make sense of the readings on their screens. "Unidentified object, sir," a young analyst shouted, her eyes wide with disbelief. "It just appeared out of nowhere and crashed in the Rockies." Colonel Sarah Hawkins leaned over the analyst's shoulder, her brow furrowed. "Stealth tech, a new Chinese prototype." "Negative, Mom," the analyst replied, shaking her head. "The energy signature, it's like nothing we've ever seen before." Hawkins straightened, her mind racing through protocols and contingencies. "Get me SecDef on the line, and scramble a team to the crash site. I want boots on the ground yesterday." As dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains, a convoy of unmarked black vehicles wound its way up a narrow forest road. In the lead Humvee, Captain Jake Foster checked his gear one last time, his team of elite soldiers mirroring his actions. "Remember, people," Foster said, his voice calm but authoritative. "We're likely dealing with classified tech here. Until we know otherwise, treat this as a retrieval op, not a rescue mission." The convoy ground to a halt as they reached the edge of the devastation. Trees lay splintered and uprooted, forming a clear path to the crash site. As Foster's team advanced cautiously, the acrid smell of burning metal and unfamiliar chemicals filled the air. "Holy shit," whispered Corporal Rodriguez, the first to catch sight of the wreckage. "That ain't no Earth tech, Cap." The twisted remains of the Zarkin ship gleamed dully in the morning light, its alien contours unmistakable. Foster keyed his radio. "Command, this is Retrieval 1. We're gonna need some bigger boats." Inside the wreckage, Krizax drifted in and out of consciousness. His exoskeleton, designed to withstand the rigors of deep space, had cracked in multiple places. Fluorescent blue blood oozed from his wounds, pooling on the buckled deck beneath him. As human voices drew nearer, Krizax's training kicked in. With agonizing effort, he dragged himself towards the emergency beacon. If he could just activate it, the Zarkin fleet would come. They would save him, and in doing so, bring the might of their civilization down upon this primitive world. His clawed hand closed around the beacon just as the ship's airlock was forced open with a screech of protesting metal. Captain Foster was the first through the breach, his rifle sweeping the smoky interior. The beam of his tactical light caught a flash of movement, then locked onto a sight that made his breath catch in his throat. Krizax's multifaceted eyes reflected the light, giving them an eerie, gem-like quality. The alien's mandibles clicked weakly as it tried to speak, its hand still gripping the beacon. "My God," Foster breathed, lowering his weapon slightly. "Command, we have a survivor. I repeat, we have an extraterrestrial survivor." For a moment, human and alien regarded each other in stunned silence. Then Krizax's finger found the beacon's activation switch. Foster's training took over. In one fluid motion, he brought his rifle back up and fired a single, precise shot. The beacon exploded in a shower of sparks, and Krizax let out a keening wail of despair. "Medic," Foster shouted, slinging his rifle and rushing to the alien's side. "I need a medic in here now." As the retrieval team's medical officer pushed past him, Foster found himself face to face with the injured alien. Despite the obvious pain it was in, Krizax's eyes burned with a mixture of fear and defiance. "It's okay," Foster said softly, knowing his words wouldn't be understood, but hoping his tone might convey his intent. "We're here to help." Krizax's vision swam, the strange bipedal creatures blurring before him. As consciousness slipped away, his last thought was of the beacon, destroyed before it could summon the armada. He had failed his mission, failed his people. The humans, unaware of the invasion they had just averted, worked swiftly to stabilize their unexpected patient. As a medical evacuation helicopter thundered overhead, humanity stood on the brink of a new era, blissfully unaware of the galactic ripples their actions would soon cause. Medical marvel. The rhythmic thump of helicopter blades filled the air as the medical evacuation team rushed their extraordinary patient towards the horizon. Inside the chopper, Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked feverishly to stabilize the alien's condition, her mind racing to adapt human medical knowledge to an entirely unknown physiology. "Pulse is erratic," she shouted over the noise of the rotors. "I'm detecting multiple circulatory systems. Wait, is that a secondary heart?" Captain Foster watched in amazement as Dr. Rodriguez and her team worked. The alien, Krizax, though they didn't yet know its name, lay strapped to a gurney, its blue blood staining the white sheets. Foster couldn't shake the feeling that they were making history with every passing second. "Where are we taking it?" Foster asked, leaning close to Dr. Rodriguez. "Clearwater Institute," she replied, not taking her eyes off her patient. "It's a top-secret medical research facility. If anyone can help this creature, it's them." As the helicopter touched down on the roof of an unmarked building nestled in the Rocky Mountains, a team of scientists and doctors in hazmat suits rushed forward. Krizax was quickly transferred to a sealed mobile unit and whisked inside the facility. Dr. Alexei Volkov, the lead xenobiologist at Clearwater, met them at the entrance to the main operating theater. His eyes gleamed with barely contained excitement behind his protective visor. "Remarkable," he breathed, examining Krizax through the clear top of the mobile unit. "Simply remarkable. Dr. Rodriguez, your initial assessment." Elena quickly briefed him on what she'd observed during the flight. Multiple fractures to what appears to be an exoskeleton, severe internal bleeding, and possible neurological damage. "But sir, it's biology. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Volkov nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to innovate. Prepare the Lazarus Protocol." Foster, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "Lazarus Protocol. What's that?" Volkov turned to the captain, his expression a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Captain, what I'm about to show you is perhaps the most advanced medical technology on Earth. A combination of nanotechnology, stem cell therapy, and quantum-entangled cellular regeneration." As they spoke, Krizax was carefully transferred to a large cylindrical chamber filled with a translucent, slightly luminescent fluid. Countless sensors and devices surrounded the alien, feeding data to the bank of computers lining the walls. "The Lazarus fluid," Volkov explained, "contains billions of nanobots programmed to analyze, repair, and even improve organic tissue. We've had remarkable success with human subjects, but this will be our greatest challenge yet." Foster watched in awe as the fluid began to glow more intensely, tendrils of light seeming to reach out and caress Krizax's broken body. On the monitors surrounding them, a three-dimensional model of the alien's anatomy began to take shape, highlighting areas of damage and potential interventions. "Incredible," Elena murmured, her eyes flicking between the real Krizax and its digital twin. "The nanotech is adapting to its biology in real time. Look at how it's repairing that fracture in the exoskeleton." For hours, the team worked tirelessly, guiding the Lazarus system and making adjustments as they learned more about their patient's unique physiology. Foster found himself relegated to the role of observer, but he couldn't tear himself away from the unfolding miracle. As the day wore on, signs of improvement began to show. The angry cracks in Krizax's exoskeleton slowly knit themselves back together, leaving barely visible seams. The flow of blue blood slowed and then stopped as ruptured vessels were repaired at the cellular level. Life signs stabilizing, one of the technicians announced, the relief evident in her voice. Brain activity increasing. I think we've done it. A cheer went up from the assembled team, quickly hushed as they remembered the gravity of their situation. This wasn't just a successful operation. It was first contact, a moment that would change the course of human history. As if on cue, Krizak's eyes flickered open. The alien's gaze darted around the room, taking in the strange surroundings and unfamiliar faces. When its eyes locked onto Foster, there was a flash of recognition. Volkov stepped forward, holding up a small device. "We've been working on this while the Lazarus Protocol did its job," he explained. "It's a rudimentary universal translator, based on the vocalizations we recorded earlier. Let's see if it works." He activated the device, and a series of clicks and whistles emanated from it. Krizak's eyes widened, and it responded with its own series of sounds. The translator crackled to life. "Where am I? What have you done to me?" Foster took a deep breath and stepped closer to the chamber. "You're safe," he said, his words converted into the alien's language by the device. "We found you injured and brought you here to heal you. How do you feel?" Krizak was silent for a moment, as if assessing its own condition. "I feel restored. How is this possible? Your kind should not have this level of technology." The Lena couldn't contain herself any longer. "We used a combination of nanotechnology and advanced regenerative techniques," she explained excitedly. "Your injuries were severe, but our Lazarus Protocol was able to adapt to your unique biology and repair the damage." The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly, a gesture the humans would later learn indicated deep thought or surprise. "Lazarus, I do not know this word. It's from an old Earth story," Foster explained. "A man who was brought back from the dead. We named the procedure after him because, well, it can seem almost like resurrection sometimes." Krizak absorbed this information, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the soft glow of the Lazarus chamber. "You could have let me die. I am your enemy. Why save me?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. It was Volkov who finally broke the silence. "Because that's what we do," he said simply. "We're doctors, scientists. Our purpose is to heal, to understand. Yes, you crashed on our planet. And yes, that might make you an enemy in some eyes. But right now, you're our patient, and we don't let patients die if we can help it." Foster nodded in agreement. "Besides," he added with a small smile, "you're the most interesting thing to happen to us in, well, ever. We got a lot of questions for you, once you're feeling up to it." Krizak seemed to consider this. Its next words, translated through the device, carried a note of wonder and perhaps a touch of respect. "Your methods are unorthodox. On my world, an enemy would be dissected, studied, not healed." "Well," Elena said with a grin, "welcome to Earth. We do things a little differently here." As the team began the process of slowly bringing Krizak out of the Lazarus chamber, Foster couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. In the face of the unknown, humanity had chosen compassion and scientific curiosity over fear and aggression. It was a small step, but perhaps it was the beginning of something greater. Little did they know, as Krizak took its first tentative steps in Earth's gravity, that their actions had set in motion events that would soon draw the attention of powers beyond their wildest imaginations. The real test of humanity's resolve was yet to come. Cultural exchange. In the days following Krizak's miraculous recovery, the Clearwater Institute transformed from a cutting-edge medical facility into an impromptu cultural exchange center. The alien's presence remained a closely guarded secret, known only to a select group of scientists, military personnel, and government officials. But for those privileged few, each day brought new revelations and challenges. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had taken on the role of primary liaison, with Krizak, her medical expertise and natural empathy, making her the ideal candidate. She sat across from the alien in a specially designed quarters, marveling at how quickly Krizax had adapted to human furnishings. "So, your species is called the Zarkan," Elena said, jotting notes on her tablet. "And you're part of something called the Galactic Concordat." Krizax's mandibles clicked in affirmation. "Yes, the Concordat spans thousands of star systems. We believed your world to be primitive, unworthy of contact. It seems we were mistaken." Elena couldn't help but smile at the note of humility in the alien's voice. "We may not have mastered interstellar travel yet, but humanity has made great strides in other areas. Medicine, as you've experienced, but also in art, philosophy, and understanding our place in the universe." She pulled up an image on her tablet, showing it to Krizax. It was a photograph of Earth taken from the International Space Station, the blue marble of their world set against the vast backdrop of space. Krizax leaned forward, its compound eyes reflecting the image. "Beautiful," it said softly. "We have forgotten to look at our own worlds this way. The Concordat sees planets as resources, strategic assets, not as homes." As their conversations continued, Elena found herself constantly surprised by Krizax's curiosity. The alien asked about everything from human social structures to the variety of ecosystems on Earth. In turn, Krizax shared insights about Zarkan culture and the broader galactic community. One day, Captain Foster joined them, bringing with him a selection of Earth foods for Krizax to try. The alien's reaction to chocolate was particularly memorable. "This," Krizax said, mandibles working furiously, "this is remarkable. You cultivate this simply for pleasure." Foster laughed. "Well, some would argue it's more than just pleasure. Chocolate has a long and complex history on Earth. It's been used as currency, in religious ceremonies, and even as medicine." Krizax's antennae twitched with interest. "Tell me more about this history. How do you preserve such knowledge?" That question led to an impromptu lesson on human methods of recording history, from ancient oral traditions to modern digital archives. Dr. Alexei Volkov joined them, bringing a collection of books ranging from classic literature to scientific texts. "These," Volkov explained, handing a leather-bound volume to Krizax, "are some of our most treasured possessions, the collected knowledge and imagination of our species." Krizax handled the book with unexpected gentleness. Words on processed plant material. Inefficient, yet there is beauty in it. The Zarkan abandoned such methods long ago. Perhaps we lost something in doing so. As the days turned into weeks, the exchange of knowledge flowed both ways. Krizax provided invaluable insights into advanced technologies, helping the human scientists make leaps in understanding that would have taken decades to achieve on their own. In return, the humans shared the full breadth of their culture: music, art, philosophy, and the complex tapestry of human emotions. One evening, Elena found Krizax staring out a window, its gaze fixed on the star-filled sky above the Rocky Mountains. "Are you thinking about home?" she asked gently. Krizax was quiet for a moment before responding. "I am thinking about the vastness of it all. Your Shakespeare wrote, 'There are more things in heaven and earth,' Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I begin to understand the wisdom in those words." Elena nodded, standing beside the alien. Humanity has always been driven by a desire to explore, to understand. It's led us to great achievements, but also terrible mistakes. We're still learning, still growing. "As are we all, it seems," Krizax replied. "I was sent here to assess your world for conquest. Instead, I find myself humbled. Your people could have destroyed me, experimented on me. Instead, you healed me, shared with me. It is not the way of the Concordat." The gravity of Krizax's words hung in the air between them. Elena had suspected there was more to the alien's presence on Earth than a simple scouting mission, but hearing it confirmed sent a chill down her spine. "What will happen when your people realize you're alive?" she asked, voicing the question that had been on everyone's minds. Krizax turned to face her, its expression unreadable to human eyes. They will come. The Concordat does not leave loose ends, and when they discover what I have learned about humanity, they will see you as a threat to be eliminated, rather than a primitive species to be conquered. Alina's heart raced as she absorbed the implications of this. We need to tell the others. We need to prepare. As they hurried to inform Captain Foster and the rest of the team, Alina couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed in such a short time. What had begun as a medical miracle had evolved into a cultural exchange, and was now on the brink of becoming a fight for Earth's very survival. In the command center of the Clearwater Institute, alarms began to blare. Foster rushed to the main console, his face grim as he read the incoming reports. Multiple objects detected entering the solar system, he announced, his voice tight. They're not natural, and they're moving fast. It looks like Krizax's people have decided to check up on their missing scout. As the team rushed to respond to this new threat, Krizax stepped forward. I will help you, the alien declared, surprising everyone in the room. Your world, your people, they are worth defending. Perhaps together, we can show the Concordat a better way. Foster nodded, a determined smile spreading across his face. Welcome to the team, Krizax. Now let's show these Concordat folks what humanity is really made of. As the Clearwater Institute transformed once again, this time into an impromptu war room, the stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate not just of Earth, but potentially of the entire galaxy. Humanity, with its unlikely alien ally, prepared to face its greatest challenge yet. Looming threat. The atmosphere in the Clearwater Institute's command center was electric with tension. Holographic displays showed the approaching Zarkan fleet, a menacing array of sleek, predatory vessels that made Earth's most advanced spacecraft look like toys in comparison. Captain Jake Foster stood at the center of the storm, barking orders and coordinating with military commands across the globe. I want every satellite we've got pointed at that fleet. If they so much as sneeze, I want to know about it. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked feverishly alongside Dr. Volkov, integrating Krizax's knowledge of Zarkan technology with Earth's defensive systems. The alien stood nearby, its compound eyes fixed on the holographic fleet. 7 capital ships, Krizax said, mandibles clicking nervously. Enough firepower to reduce your planet's surface to molten slag. But they will not do that immediately. The Concordat values resources. They will attempt to subdue your population first. Elena looked up from her work, face pale but determined. Then that's our window. We need to show them that humanity isn't worth the trouble. Foster nodded grimly. A reverse war of the world scenario. I like it. But how do we convince an interstellar empire that we're more trouble than we're worth? Dr. Volkov's eyes lit up with a dangerous gleam. We use their own technology against them. Krizax, your ship's cloaking device, could we adapt it to a larger scale? The alien's antennae twitched in thought. Theoretically, yes. But you would need an enormous power source and a way to distribute the field across a large area. The global power grid, Elena breathed, catching on to Volkov's idea. If we could tap into it, use the Earth itself as a conductor. Foster interrupted. You're talking about cloaking the entire planet. Is that even possible? Volkov shrugged, a manic grin spreading across his face. Possible? Who knows, but it's the kind of insane plan that just might buy us the time we need. As the scientists dove into their work, Foster turned his attention to Earth's more conventional defenses. Every nation had been briefed on the situation, ancient rivalries set aside in the face of an existential threat. Missile silos were armed, fighter jets scrambled, and naval fleets positioned strategically around the globe. In orbit, the crews of the International Space Station and various satellites worked tirelessly, their missions transformed overnight from scientific research to frontline reconnaissance. Days passed in a blur of activity. The Zarkan fleet drew ever closer, its approach like the slow inevitability of an approaching storm. Krizax worked alongside the humans, its knowledge proving invaluable as they raced to implement their desperate plan. We've adapted the cloaking technology, Elena reported, exhaustion evident in her voice. But we can only maintain the field for a few minutes at most before it overloads the global power grid. Foster nodded, understanding the implications. So we get one shot at this. We need to time it perfectly, make them think we've simply vanished. With luck, it'll buy us enough time to bloody their nose and show them we're not easy prey. As the final preparations were made, Foster found Krizax alone in a quiet corner of the facility. The alien was examining a small potted plant, gently touching its leaves with a clawed appendage. "Nervous?" Foster asked, coming to stand beside the erstwhile enemy turned ally. Krizax's mandibles clicked softly. "I am. Conflicted. These are my people coming, yet I find myself hoping for their defeat. Is this what you call treason?" Foster considered this for a moment. "I'd call it growth. You've seen another way of doing things. It's natural to want to share that, even if it means challenging your own people's beliefs." The alien turned its multifaceted eyes to Foster. "And if we succeed, if we drive the Concordat away, what then? Will your people welcome a stranded alien, or will I become a prisoner once more?" "That's not how we do things," Foster said firmly. "You've more than proven yourself. Whatever happens, you'll have a place here. Hell, you might end up being humanity's first ambassador to the stars." Their conversation was interrupted by the blaring of alarms. Belena's voice came over the intercom, tight with urgency. "They're here. Zarkan fleet has entered Earth orbit." Foster and Krizax rushed back to the command center. The holographic display showed the massive alien ships taking up position around the planet, dwarfing the ISS and humanity's satellites. "Life signs detected on all ships," a technician reported. "They're scanning the surface. Wait, energy spike. They're powering weapons." Foster took a deep breath, years of training kicking in as he faced the moment of truth. "This is it, people. Activate the planetary cloak on my mark. All defense forces stand by to engage the moment we drop the cloak." The command center fell silent, the fate of humanity hanging on the next few moments. Foster watched the Zarkan ships, waiting for the perfect moment, just as the energy readings from their weapons reached their peak. "Now," Foster shouted. Dr. Volkov slammed his hand down on the activation switch. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering speed, a shimmer spread across the holographic representation of Earth. In orbit, the Zarkan ships suddenly found themselves firing into empty space where a planet had been moments before. "It's working," Elena cried, her eyes wide with disbelief. "They can't see us." The jubilation was short-lived, however. Alarms began to blare as power grids across the planet strained under the enormous load. "We can't maintain this for long," Volkov warned, his hands flying over the controls. "The system's overloading." Foster nodded grimly. "Then we make every second count. All forces, prepare to engage on my command. Krizax, I need you to send a message to the Zarkan fleet. Make them think twice about what they're getting into." As the planetary cloak began to falter, humanity prepared to reveal itself, not as easy prey, but as a force to be reckoned with. The next few minutes would determine the fate of Earth and potentially reshape the galaxy itself. With a final, spectacular surge of power, the planetary cloak failed. Earth reappeared in the midst of the Zarkan fleet, its surface bristling with weapons both familiar and alien, a patchwork of human determination and borrowed Zarkan technology. Foster's voice rang out, clear and determined. "All forces, engage." As humanity launched its desperate counterattack, the real battle for Earth's future was about to begin. Unexpected alliance. The moment Earth reappeared, chaos erupted across the planet and in orbit. The Zarkan fleet, caught off guard by the planet's disappearance and sudden reemergence, found itself facing a barrage of attacks from all directions. Missiles streaked upward from silos hidden in deserts and mountains, their payloads enhanced with hastily adapted alien technology. Fighter jets, their hulls gleaming with experimental stealth coatings based on Kryzak's ship, engaged in dogfights with Zarkin interceptors. In orbit, weaponized satellites unleashed electromagnetic pulses, disrupting the invaders' sophisticated systems. In the Clearwater Institute's command center, Captain Jake Foster coordinated the global defense effort, his voice steady despite the stakes. All units, concentrate fire on their lead ship. Let's show them we mean business. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked frantically alongside Dr. Volkov, monitoring the effectiveness of their hybrid human-alien weapons. The EMP strikes are working, she shouted over the din of alarms and chatter. Their shields are fluctuating. Kryzak stood at a specially modified communications array, its mandibles clicking rapidly as it transmitted a message to the Zarkin fleet in its native language. The aliens' compound eyes reflected the holographic displays, showing the unfolding battle. Message sent, Kryzak announced, turning to Foster. I've informed them of your technological capabilities and warned them of the costs of continuing this invasion. I've also shared what I've learned about humanity, its potential, its diversity, its determination. Foster nodded grimly. Let's hope it's enough to make them think twice. For several tense minutes, the battle raged on. Earth's forces, though outnumbered and outgunned, fought with a ferocity that seemed to take the Zarkin by surprise. The skies above every major city lit up with anti-aircraft fire, while in space, hastily armed civilian vessels joined military spacecraft in harrying the alien fleet. Suddenly, the lead Zarkin ship's energy readings spiked. They're charging their main weapon, Elena cried, her face pale. Foster's jaw clenched. This is it. All units, give it everything you've got. As the Zarkin dreadnought prepared to fire, something unexpected happened. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the planet's surface, striking the alien vessel with pinpoint accuracy. The ship's shields flared and failed, and secondary explosions blossomed along its hull. What the hell was that? Foster demanded, staring at the display in disbelief. Dr. Volkov grinned maniacally, his hair disheveled. A little surprise, we cooked up. We reversed engineered the weapon systems from Kryzak's scout ship and scaled them up. Used the Large Hadron Collider as a power source. Didn't know if it would work, but his explanation was cut short as the command center erupted in cheers. The Zarkin dreadnought, its hull breached in multiple places, was slowly breaking apart in orbit. Kryzak's antennae quivered with a mix of emotions. You've done it, the alien said softly. In all the history of the Concordat, no species has ever repelled a full invasion fleet. As if to confirm Kryzak's words, the remaining Zarkin ships began to pull back, retreating to a higher orbit. The communication array crackled to life, and a deep, resonant voice filled the command center. Humans of Earth, the voice said, the words translated through Kryzak's device. I am Supreme Commander Zorlak of the Zarkan Expeditionary Force. We underestimated you. Your tenacity and resourcefulness are unlike anything we have encountered. We request a parley. Foster exchanged glances with Elena and Volkov, then looked to Kryzak. The alien nodded almost imperceptibly. This is Captain Jake Foster of Earth, he responded, his voice firm. We accept your request for parley, on the condition that you withdraw your forces immediately to beyond our moon's orbit. There was a tense pause before Zorlak's voice returned. Agreed. We will comply. As the Zarkin fleet retreated, a palpable sense of relief washed over the command center. Yet everyone knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had repelled the initial invasion, but in doing so had announced its presence to the galaxy at large. In the days that followed, a delegation was hastily assembled. Captain Foster, Dr. Rodriguez, and Dr. Volkov were selected to represent humanity, with Kryzak serving as a mediator and cultural translator. The meeting took place on neutral ground, the surface of Earth's moon. As Foster stepped onto the lunar surface, he couldn't help but reflect on the historic nature of the moment. Less than a century after humans had first set foot on the moon, they were using it as a stage for first diplomatic contact with an alien civilization. Supreme Commander Zorlak cut an imposing figure, nearly 3 meters tall, with an exoskeleton that shimmered with iridescent patterns. Yet there was something in the alien leader's stance that suggested a newfound respect. "Captain Foster," Zorlak began, his words translated through the advanced version of the Universal Translator. "Your species has proven itself to be remarkable. We came expecting to find primitives. Instead, we found equals." Foster stood tall, meeting the alien commander's gaze. "We're not interested in war, Supreme Commander, but we will defend our home, our people, with everything we have. We've shown you what humanity can do when backed into a corner. Imagine what we could accomplish as allies instead of enemies." Alina stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial trepidation. "There's so much we could learn from each other. Our medicines, our technologies, combined, we could solve problems neither of our species has been able to tackle alone." Zorlak's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "You offer cooperation where we expected only subjugation or destruction. It is not the way of the Concordat. And yet, I find myself intrigued by the possibility." Dr. Volkov, barely containing his excitement, added, "Just look at what we managed to cobble together in a matter of days with access to a single scout ship. Imagine the advancements we could make with true collaboration." As the discussions continued, it became clear that this encounter had shaken the very foundations of the Zarkan worldview. Humanity's resistance had not just repelled an invasion, it had sparked a potential revolution in galactic politics. Krizax, watching the proceedings with a mix of pride and wonder, turned to Foster during a brief recess. "You have done the impossible," the alien said. "You have made the Concordat question its most fundamental beliefs. Whatever happens next, the galaxy will never be the same." Foster nodded, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. "We're not just negotiating for Earth anymore, are we? We're negotiating for a new future for both our species." As the talks concluded, a framework for peace was established. The Zarkan would withdraw, but not before establishing diplomatic channels and initiating cultural and scientific exchanges. Earth would remain sovereign, but would take its first tentative steps onto the galactic stage. Months later, as the first human delegation prepared to visit the Zarkan homeworld, Foster found himself standing once again in the command center of the Clearwater Institute. The facility had been transformed into Earth's primary center for extraterrestrial relations. Alina joined him, looking out at the bustling activity. Humans and Zarkan worked side by side, the fruits of their collaboration already yielding remarkable advancements in medicine, technology, and space exploration. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Alina asked, a note of wonder in her voice. Foster shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "Not in a million years, but that's humanity for you. Give us an impossible situation, and we'll find a way to turn it into an opportunity." As they watched a group of human and Zarkan scientists excitedly discuss a new project, Foster couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had proven themselves on a galactic scale, and in doing so, had changed the course of history for two civilizations. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now beckoned with the promise of new horizons, and humanity, with its newfound allies, was ready to answer that call.